So today's February 9th. Just happens to be my birthday. Woke up today morning a little bit down, so I thought I'd start a new tradition. We're on this YouTube thing, and one of the biggest advantages of YouTube is that along with your free video hosting, they keep it up forever. So that means you can use it as a point of reference for whatever you want. So before I do what I'm about to do, let me tell you a little story. So back when I lived in India, we'd meet up with the family and we'd always go to Baskin Robbins, right? Baskin Robbins is a huge deal in India in a way that it's not over here, I've discovered. So what we would do was, or they had a special promotion because they're pretty new to the country. They would give a 31% discount on every 31st of the year. So I think there's like 7 or 8 31st in a year, or 7 I think. So they would give a promotion on every 31st. So being cheapskates, obviously, at first we just went to Baskin Robbins with the whole family. Like, we took everyone and went to Baskin Robbins on every 31st. And at first it was just because we wanted discount ice cream. But then after a while it became like this whole thing. Like, we developed a relationship with the person who ran the ice cream store, and then he would always recognize us when we came in because it's the busiest day of the month for them because they were giving 31% off their product, right? So he would see us and he'd ask after us and be like, hey, how have you been? What have you been up to? And stuff like that. And we'd also we'd be sitting around this table eating ice cream in this tiny little store, and we'd take some time to reflect, because when you're in the same place at this designated time, it becomes like a point of reflection. It's kind of like New Year's, Every time January 1st, you wake up and think, oh, what happened over the past year? And you try to reflect on what you've done and what you want to do. And that's what New Year's resolutions are all about, right? It's about setting a goal for yourself every year, because we don't really get that time to think back and reflect on what we should be doing and what we've been doing. That's not really something that's encouraged in us, day in and day out. We're just expected to do what we're supposed to do and not really think about what we want to do, what we want to do differently, and things like that. So I thought I'd take this time to establish a new, tradition. This is my 23rd birthday. I'll be graduating from college in a few months. Got delayed by some time because of certain issues. But yeah, going to be graduating soon. So I thought I'd chart out what I want myself to do over the next year. And then we'll check back in on February 9th, 2020, 2 decades into the century, and then see what I was able to actually get done of it. I thought that would be a pretty good idea. So here we go. Point 1. Obviously, point 1 is graduate, Point 1 is graduate because college, I think, I'm pretty done with this college stage, and I don't know if what comes after will be harder or easier. I don't really care at this point. I'm just getting really bored of this stage. So that's number 1. Number 1 on the list is graduate. Number 2 on the list, the university that I go to does offer a lot of support for people who are trying to get jobs, and a lot of companies come and hire straight out of the university. So point 2 is go to some job fairs, try to get a job. That's point 2. And that's really important, because if you don't get a job in this current economy, the way things are going, and if you don't get some kind of secure income, you're not really going to be ready to do something that you want to do, potentially, right? It's not really that easy to make a living in the alternate economy, the sharing economy, whatever you want to call it. Not really something that is possible right now, I'd say, for most people. So that's point number 2. Point number 3. Before I get a job, I'm planning to take a trip to India to see some of my friends from back in the day. I hope that comes to fruition. I've already set up a Skyscanner alert that sends me like 5 emails a day for cheap flight prices later on in the year. So I'm looking forward to that. I have money saved up. That should be fun. I've already been talking to my friends about what we want to do when we get there. I've told some people that I might make vlogs once I go there, but knowing me, that's probably not going to happen. So don't stay tuned for that. But that's point number 3, is to relax a little bit after all this college stuff. I know people say college is relaxing, but I've always hated school, really. I kind of like doing my own thing independently. I find that much more fulfilling than anything else. So all these tests and assignments and stuff, just kind of living by someone else's clock is not really my thing. that might, not jive with what I just said about point 2, but that's point 3. And point 4 is to finish my book that I've been writing for like 7 months. It's number 2. I shelved one that was much longer than this one already, just because I felt like I was not being genuine with that. It didn't really describe the point of life that I'm in currently. I don't think I can speak to that in the way that I would want to be able to do it faithfully. So I kind of shelved that one, started a new one last June. I would say it's 2/3 of the way done, first draft. I take a long ass time writing this shit, as people who I've talked to in writing groups know. But that's point 4 that I want to get done. And after finishing it, I want to edit it and query it by the next year. So by next February 9th, I want to have queries out. I don't know how much of that is going to get done. I feel like I procrastinate a lot with that. I don't really hold myself to task with that, so we'll see what happens in that. If anything doesn't happen, I expect it to be that. The first 3 I think I can pretty much manage to do without too much trouble. But yeah, so those are the 4 points. 5th point, this is kind of like a forever alone point. 5th point, I'd really like to make meet some people in the local area who do kind of like normie things, because I feel like I don't do enough of that at this current moment. And it's not that I don't enjoy them, it's just that I don't really make time for them, which is something I'm pretty bad at, is making time for things that I should be doing but I'm not the most interested in doing, or things that are just a little hard to get started doing, I don't really take time for. So I want to do that also. And I think that might, dovetail with getting a job and meeting people there, because I feel like a lot of the jobs that I would be eligible for at this current age and my level of education would have people who are are in a similar situation with their age and level of education. So it should be a little bit easier to meet work friends. But again, this is point 5 on the list for a reason, So yeah, I don't know how useful this will be as a point of reference, but I think it's good to have out there as, speak it into existence kind of moment where you're like, let me see what happens if I actually have something where I can look back and say, you didn't do any of these things, I feel like I'll be being unfaithful to myself if I don't. This is kind of a gauntlet I'm throwing at 2020 me to look back at this and say, hey, why didn't you do any of this stuff, So yeah, that's it. Starting a new tradition. This is like setting out the challenge for the year. This will be my new year, shortly before Chinese New Year, but a little bit after normal New Year. And yeah, let's see what happens. I hope I'm able to do most of this stuff. I'll be happy if I get done like 60% of it, 3 out of 5. We'll see which 3 out of 5 it ends up being. But yeah, that's it. Happy birthday to me.